Hey guys, and welcome back to the Berlin Major here on the A stream, going into Game 5 of day number 2. It's MNM coming up against FURIA, and what is proving to be a really fascinating group overall, Tim. FURIA and Elevate, the two that have been scrapping it out at the top. Earlier on today, we did see FURIA lose out to Elevate, but now they've got the chance to get back on the wagon and climb their way back up. I'm Des, this is Tim, and we're going to take a quick look through some of the groups as well. Let's start with Group A and have a rifle through there first to begin with, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that we cast earlier on. We saw the Rogue and NIP game. We saw Except versus Damwon Kia. As you can see, we've got the top 3 teams all joint on 6 points apiece. They've got a couple of games each left to go, so that's going to all get sorted out tomorrow when they start playing, a few more of those and we start seeing those results coming in. We'll know exactly who is where. There's a couple more games today as well, a little bit later on, but we can have a look as well at the percentage chances. They're all very similar because, of course, they've all got the same amount of points. Rogue just topping things there at 93, but 79 up to 93%. Not a huge difference between all of them, and it's going to be a fight right to the end between those 3.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at B as well. We'll rifle through these because I believe our teams are almost ready to get into things. FaZe sat at the top on 9 points after their win against G2 not too long ago. Sandbox did get some points as well, got themselves on the board. Sonic sat in dead last. It's looking a little bit dicey for the NA team, but at least for G2 and FaZe, things not looking so bad. Probability, let's pull that up and take a look as well. FaZe basically all but guaranteed to lock themselves in with just one more win. Even losing, they are very likely to be there because it requires Sandbox to pull off a real big feat to be able to take them out the standings there, Tim.
It does. Let's have a look at Group C then. We'll see how we stand over there. W7M just finishing up a game against Wolves and Oxygen and Gaming Gladiators. So again, a similar story. W7M, one of our unbeaten teams so far, right up there at the top, and things getting a little bit heated around second place now. As we can see, Wolves still with a serious advantage if they can pull off that win in the next game. That really does rocket them towards success out of Group C. W7M, they, much like FaZe, are looking pretty solid at the top.
Absolutely. Group D for Dez, of course, got to come round to that one last and first and foremost. Elevate, FURIA, Astralis, and MNM. This is the group that we are about to see take place on this stream as well. Elevate may be surprising many by going flawless and beating every team in their group so far. Astralis at least finally getting on the board, Tim, with an overtime win. But right now we're looking towards teams like FURIA and Elevate to really take the top 2 spots in this group. If Elevate go on to win their next fixture, which we cast after this next game on this stream, which I believe is Elevate versus Astralis, well, we could well have one of our teams already locked in. Elevate could be the first team to get locked in, Tim.
They could. I mean, we see how difficult it is for MNM, to bring it to the game that we're going to see now. MNM versus FURIA. Even with a regulation win and a full 3 points against FURIA, they're at 18% chance. It is still, they need to rely on a lot of other results at this point.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at our map veto in just a second as well, so we can see where the showdown is going to take place. And there it is. Theme Park, which we have seen twice so far in this group. And actually earlier today, I believe FURIA played that against Elevate, lost it 7-5, so a very close matchup. And MNM played it in their first match of the group stage yesterday. Yeah,
FURIA taking the choice to go back there again. I get the feeling that Theme Park for some of these teams is maybe being used just to keep, things under wraps. They're looking towards playoffs, especially FURIA with the points they've got at the minute. They've already played there. They're going back again. Why not? If you look like you're going through to the final stages, keep them maps under wraps.
I think I told you this earlier, but you remind me of a bartender.
Somebody said, I've had a few different things, to be fair.
I think it's this whole thing. It's just like you're going to serve me a drink at the start of a D&D campaign.
I might if you're lucky.
And Han Solo, that as well.
I've had that as well, yeah. I'll take that for a win.
Well, one team's got to take this map for a win. It is Theme Park between MNM and FURIA. FURIA with a win, all but guarantee themselves a top 2 spot. MNM, they lose this one, they're done for. They're out, and there'll be questions to ask around what can get improved for next time around. Let's get into it now and see who can walk away with the lion's share of these 3 points.
What can we expect to see out of Theme Park then? I commented on it the other day. There's a limited verticality available. It depends which area of the map that you're playing in. Over in sort of Bunk, Daycare, Cafe, there's a little bit of destruction available, so you might see 1 or 2 vertical nades in that area, but we don't tend to have too many defenders playing over there, so there's not too much of an opportunity opportunity for it. A lot of the game revolves around initiation, office, and then armory and throne on the lower levels, and there is very little destructible floor in there, so not too much opportunity. What you tend to find is the attackers for a downstairs site, for example, they're going to want to go in and clear out top floor so that they're not having to worry too much about the flanks, but a lot of the round is going to be spent based around access into site. How do you get in there? Where's your method? Where are you breaching? Where are you pushing from? We saw FaZe do it the other day, breaching into armory from maintenance and just trying to push through that breach. It's often not enough. You got to have multiple routes of entry.
The big one for me looking at this team for FURIA that we have spoke about several times is the highest point I think I've seen from FURIA is when they had Highs, when they had Miracle and Fantasy all in the roster. Highs has since moved on. They've of course brought in some new players that are still gelling a little bit here as well. Now had a couple of stages and we are seeing that start to build. But that has really reigned throughout this event as well. In fact, in their last game, Fantasy and Miracle were the two big standout players. So I'm looking to those two here to bring something really special into the field. Hopefully STK can stand up and make himself count as well. And on the other side, a player that I said back in stage two itself wasn't playing super well in the form of Tyrant, had a wonderful day yesterday. 13 and something I think he dropped in one of his games, so it has warmed back up, but they aren't firing on all cylinders. Solotov hasn't been maybe as strong as he should have been, and it's still trying to find that front three really getting online and working as a unit for MNM to be able to take some big games.
Round number one gets underway without any further ado then. It's going to be Armory and Throne, the site that I was pretty much referencing, or partly referencing in my vertical discussion just a few minutes ago. There's not going to be much opportunity for the attack of FURIA to get anything going vertically here. They're going to want to clear that top floor. They're going to want to make sure there's no roamers to hit them on the flanks, but they won't want to spend too much time doing it because there's not that much value in doing so. You have to think about the site. You have to think about your access to it and how and where you're getting in, where the diffuser's going down. But obviously, you can't do those things whilst you've still got problems around the map. So it is a really difficult sort of balancing act with the time as well.
Well, this is interesting with the Ossa coming in here. Now, most pro teams will just start off with a push on towards maintenance side of things. Very rarely ever see a yellow push. But the thing with the Ossa here is they could just go straight into sight. They've ignored everything, Tim. They're straight in Route 101. No one's in sight. MNM, where are you? Nello's elsewhere upstairs, but they're in sight and able to put the plant down. Fantasy a little bit panicked here, expecting that he might get swung on at any time. And the thing is, I'd love to just see him hold down F. Let the boys do the fighting for you, and you guys can worry about getting this plant down. A good trade coming in here as Tyrant saves his teammate. The plant is down, but it's a 1v5. Great idea, but not quite the best execution from FURIA.
Not at all. Now in a 1 versus 4, Ossa just trying to play in behind those shields, but MNM just need to push at the same time here, and they should be able to secure the kill. But here goes Fantasy. We know how good he is. Surely not a first round ace. He's gone in. He's done this all alone and finds the final kill. MNM, you cannot allow that to happen. He goes in. He puts the shield down. He gets the plant. He gets the kills. Fantasy 1, MNM 0.
That is ridiculous. How has that been allowed to happen? I mean, in the first place, that they get 3 players on site when there's no MNM player to be seen, and then they lose 4 players, and then a 1v5? What? I love group stage so much. So much.
For me there, MNM panicked a little bit. MNM panicked a little bit because they had time to play with. They were down to 1v4 with about, I think, 37 seconds on the timer, somewhere around there. As I said, they just need to push at the same time, separately, and secure the kill. That's all they needed to do, except every single one of them came from Dragon Door. They had time to take 10 seconds to rotate through yellow, round to split, and send one in from each side. Fantasy cannot really possibly win that then, or shouldn't be able to. I think he did get one coming from split side, and then he flicked over to Dragon. They needed more of a presence on both sides, and the timing was the factor. They gave him that split second between one pushing and the rest pushing, and so he could hit one shot and he could move over to the others. They just needed that breath, that push at the same time, and they get the kill.
For MNM for me,
Fantasy won that as well.
Right tracks, wrong train. Yep. They had the right idea. He's behind Throne. Everyone's going for that, but it's the missed timing on it. Yeah. It's the angles. It's all the rest of it.
That's where I say the panic comes in. He's behind Throne. We need to go and get the kill, but then everybody individually tries to run in and get the kill.
What is he?
And that's part of the problem there. I bet the comms were pretty hectic through that. bit of an issue there for MNM. But well played by Fantasy. FURIA kind of got a little bit lucky. You know, they went in there. Fantasy had that minute where he was sort of sat behind the shield thinking, my cover's gone. I'm all alone. What do I do? And he thought, I'm just going to continue with the plan.
It's just a classic, I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me. 100% beautiful play from FURIA. I like the rush again. I kind of wish they'd pulled the trigger a little bit sooner, but at this point, it's the first round. We'll give him a little bit of time on this front. Here we go then on the step 4s, and immediately this drone being taken out by MNM, and SDK was like, well, if they're going for the drone on getting off it, I'm just saying, look, I know it's gone. I want to get on the guns and try and find the potential swing coming through. Right idea, but again, not quite finding the man. Solotov down to a slither of HP, and Nello's got to be so careful here. Might end up killing his own teammate if things carry on this way, because they're both holding exactly the same angle. Solotov rotating off, but is on only about 5 HP.
So FURIA being sort of beaten back a little bit there, being pushed back outside of the map, so that's something at least for MNM. It just gives them a little bit of time. It gives them, you know, a little bit of thinking space to be able to push on. But Solotov, even with low health, is still going to get that first kill. Handy manages to get one for himself onto Nello, which leaves us in a 4 versus 4. And there, the shotgun starts working from Neo, but not working enough as Miracle manages to get the kill. 3 versus 3 now.
With diffuser down as well in the middle of control, it's contested ground. They've got to be so careful stepping through. There isn't that long angle being set up to hold. So drop off a little bit here by the 2 members of MNM that were formerly holding on towards that longer angle. It's Solotov who's back in out after Nello has dipped away and obviously been taken out. Fantasy, after already finding 5 kills, can he find himself any more on the push through? He knows that there's 1 player sat here on Shrine, but there's still 2 more that he has to be worried about.
You wouldn't bet against it, would you? We know exactly what
maybe you would.
You would know. Solotov casts his curse. I tell you what, he's been on low health for the longest time, and he's managed to get himself a double Tyrant. Steps up, and like a little jack in the box there in Cafe, manages to peek out from behind the desk, gets himself STK, and that is now leaving us in a 1 versus 3. Miracle gets diffuser in hand, but still an awful lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it. He's got 15 seconds, and MNM much calmer than last time we saw them. There's no rush in them here.
Swing.
They know exactly what they're doing. That's the MNM that we want to see.
And I love how you have the Warden in that position as well. Exactly the one that you want that's being flashed out to ensure they can still have the 2v1. Much better from MNM. FURIA kind of petering out there in the drone game as well. We saw him commit a couple and look to make moves off it, but didn't get swung on by MNM. And maybe part of that is because they're expecting the sort of thing they get in LATAM. Defenders take out a drone, they swing on the doorway, expecting you to either step through or just to try and counter what you've tried to do with the drone in the first place. It just didn't come. MNM sitting more passively, a bit more static, and letting FURIA be the ones to come to them.
See our reminder of the probabilities at the bottom, depending on the outcome of this game. If FURIA get the win, 95% likely that they get sorted. The blue ring around us telling us that it can be confirmed today. And I can tell you how it can be confirmed today. If FURIA get the regulation win and Elevate beat Astralis, that will be not only FURIA confirmed, but also Elevate. It will be this group wrapped up. Des, Astralis will be done, MNM will be out, and it will be FURIA and Elevate going through. We could have that in 2 short games' time.
Keep it nice and short, right? They're saying forget about day 3. Can we just take the day off, go and jump in the pool, for example, escape the heat? I don't think we're casting them tomorrow either. No, we're not covering this group tomorrow, but hey, maybe there'll still be some spice yet to come, because as much as we've said about NA yesterday having a terrible day, EU have had a terrible day today. I don't think we've yet won a game.
No, it's been rough, and we've got to call it. You know, we had our little fun with NA yesterday. We've got to be honest about EU, and that is things seeming to return to a little bit of a status quo today. As you say, a little bit of craziness on the first day, and then we see maybe those expectations that people had coming into the tournament being lived out a little bit more today.
NA and EU are too busy kind of like crapping on each other and being like, you guys suck, and then LATAM's there just like, and what?
Yeah.
Hoovering up all the points for themselves and just laughing the way to the bank.
Certainly are. At the minute, there's only NIP really leaving us, you know, with a wonder as to whether they're going to make it through or not, and we know that they've absolutely got the capability to do so. Solotov, he's going to pick up the opener onto STK, so that's a good start for MNM here. As we've said, MNM need basically to get every single point left available to them, and then hope on some other results as well. Users, just the siege time in there, comes out of ADS at the wrong moment, looks to continue challenging this. He's going to be careful not to overcommit to it. Tyrant taking a lot of damage as well as he rotates back, and FURIA starting to push now, looking to move across that top floor, get control of cash, get control of control, but not really getting too far into the building yet.
FURIA will be lamenting these last 2 rounds. They put Solotov onto 5 HP. Now Tyrant sat on a slither as well. They should have been confirmed kills at the time that may well have changed the outcome of the last round and may yet have an impact on this one. 4v4, still over half the round to go, so although it's felt a bit bottlenecky at points, there's still a lot to be fought for by FURIA. Fantasy going down, one of those 2 big impact players that I mentioned earlier. So now a lot of eyes will turn towards Miracle and seeing what he can do on the Nomad.
Handit going to be trying to move into control and not going to be allowed to, as Solotov manages to find a nice long angle onto his head, and that is going to claim another FURIA life. Things looking a little bit more difficult for them at the minute. You got to remember, this is an armory attack. They haven't even got anywhere near site yet. This is all being taken up with top floor control that doesn't actually gain them too much. It doesn't give them any access in towards site. They still have all that to do.
They're literally playing ring around the roses, Tim. Finally, they clash a little bit here, with Miracle almost having a free shot onto Solotov. C4 comes out, but Miracle is long gone.
It's been well played so far by MNM, like you say, just left FURIA chasing shadows most of the time. They've not been able to pin them down. They've not been able to get, a clear opportunity to find those kills. And with only 20 seconds left to go, the 2 members of FURIA, Miracle and Rare, have got little opportunity, little option other than to just push on into sight through that single door. Nello's going to take a chunk of damage, but it doesn't matter because Neo is there to shut him down. And then it's all up to Miracle, taking battles left, right, centre. It doesn't matter. The bullets are raining in from everywhere. 3 seconds left to go. It's likely that he just maybe gets himself an exit kill, and that is going to. It's all for the KD. That is all that he is able to find on that one, and FURIA just wasting too much time upstairs.
A little bit, and also being bottlenecked again. I spoke about it before. Outside of the round 1 madness that we had, this has settled into a groove that feels like MNM just have the control. And FURIA lacking a bit of the bite. It's something I've always been nervous about with a couple of LATAM teams, to be fair. FaZe, another one that I think of on this map when you and I cast them yesterday, a little bit one-dimensional. It really took Cyber to come for the backstab up yellow stairs, to push in solo from Cafe to make anything happen. But the damage here is that MNM are watching those side angles. They're being a lot more considerate. But what they are doing is taking a gunfight, and then win or lose, they're stepping away from it and going to a different angle. If they're looking to get away with 5 HP, so be it. They'd rather repurpose that 5 HP somewhere else and keep the player alive than really hard commit towards the angle. And FURIA just seem to kind of freeze up when they get the smallest bit of resistance right now. So it's well played by MNM, but for FURIA, I want to see more bite out of these boys.
A little bit more bite and a little bit more, I think, creativeness is the key here. Pushing from multiple directions, winning those gunfights that allow them onto the flank, allow them to control those danger areas, because right now they're just not having much opportunity to do so. So we head into the action phase of round number 4. MNM, to be honest, I won't say having their best game yet, but they certainly look competitive against FURIA, at least at the minute, which is fantastic for them. It's been a tough tournament so far for the EU side, and I know that they're capable of more, and so did they, and I'm sure they're keen to show it as here. But for the time being, we'll see how they are able to hold FURIA out of the building again. That was one thing that they did well last time. It was almost half of the round passing before FURIA were really able to establish themselves inside the map.
It's interesting how we're at that halfway point in the tournament really here. It's why we had our little groups run through just before we started this game is, as of this game, or just the start of it, we have just passed over the halfway mark of the group stage across both streams. So this is now the reset where all teams still have 3 games to play. This is the first of those second lot of 3, or the 4th game for MNM and for FURIA. If we see a total flip in fortunes for MNM, this group could still stay pretty spicy. Only if Fantasy doesn't hit wicked shots like that, though. Tyrant, I think, sprayed there through the soft wall. A pretty freebie kill coming out there. It is straight inside of office. A good start to at least shut down some of the resistance being put up by MNM.
Yeah, it gets FURIA moving. You can see now that they've just sent one into the building. Miracle on the gridlock is going to get in there to support this push forward across the top floor. Attacking onto Lab, of course. So once again, FURIA expending a lot of time on that top floor. This time it does gain them a little bit more. They've got Fantasy on the book. If they can get control of Cafe, Bunk, Daycare, they can start opening the floor up above the site to a degree. So it does at least gain them something this time, not like the attack onto Armory and Throne. But they still can't waste too much time here, and that is not going to help them as Solotov manages to find the kill onto Fantasy. Nice headshot there, and that keeps MNM in control of those danger areas on the top floor.
A big wake-up for Solotov so far at 5-1 as well, just across the last few rounds, picking up those kills to a point where he's almost matching Fantasy after his ace in round 1. And for Solotov, again, it's been a pretty quiet tournament overall. You need to see really him, Yuzus, and Tyrant all hitting big shots for MNM to really fly and sit in the most successful form that we know they are more than capable of doing. So to see him currently online is a good side for MNM in this game. One thing I will say is it is defensive side of Theme Park. We've seen so many teams struggle to attack on this map that it could be a completely different ball game once FURIA get onto defense.
I think sometimes, you know, elements like a lack of verticality can go hand in hand with that for the attackers because it limits them. As you say, it creates those funnels whereby they have to push in, you know, through limited sort of resources, limited angles, and it can be dangerous for them. But they've got the vertical that they wanted here, have FURIA, so they can start swinging the sledgehammer. But with 10 seconds left to go, Des, it's unlikely they're going to find many angles. They're going to have to go in through a window that's double frost-mattered and has somebody waiting. Solotov, easiest kill for him. 2 others coming along. 1 exit kill again for Miracle. It's traded out, and that's going to be the round for MNM. Another solid defense.
They look unbothered largely. Like FURIA, it feels, are kind of chasing themselves around in circles, upstairs, out around the map, whereas the site itself is really not looked at until the last 10 seconds. It's kind of a joke I used to make about some of our lower-ranked APAC North teams, is that you'd have 2.5 minutes of trying to do strats, and in the last 30 seconds it becomes ranked. People just running rooms, looking for kills, trying to pick things up that make them the kind of hero of the moment. And in a way, I don't want to say FURIA are at that point yet, but it is feeling a little bit like they're a bit misdirected for most of the round, and in the last 15, 20 seconds go, oh yeah, there's a site we've got to try and plant on. I forgot about that.
MNM, you know, I want to give them their due. They have defended areas of the maps very well. It's been difficult for FURIA to move them on the top floor, particularly. FURIA, as you've said, have spent minutes trying to get the map control that they want, and they've been unsuccessful. And that is largely down to MNM playing it well. They're not over-peaking. When they do take a peek, they generally get a kill. And they've been winning the gunfights. It's been, you know, pretty good from them so far, you know, to give them their due. Whether they can carry that momentum onto attack is going to be the big question here on Theme Park. As we've said, you know, the defenders do tend to have a little bit of joy here. So maybe that's just what MNM needed. They need to come into a game where they can just, you know, bully FURIA a little bit for the first 6 rounds, and then they'll have that momentum to get the last couple of rounds that they need. But currently sat at 3-1. They're holding on to the top floor very well, and we're going to see that continue here. Look at this. We've got the Warden of Users right up against that window there. He was just waiting to know that somebody was going. The reason that he's there, he's not looking for a peek necessarily. He's waiting to hear the rappel. And when he hears them come off it, he knows they're on roof. He can then toss the nitro to see if he catches anybody on the hatch. He didn't, but it was a nice try. Just
slightly mistimed, yeah. I won't even blame him for that. It's probably more the speed of FURIA than it was so much Users getting that one wrong, because you know that's the kind of thing they've practiced many times over. As it stands, so we've got more members of MNM out and about around the map. It's Neo here holding out towards Cash side, one of the main entry points into this map overall. Still downstairs, you've got drones whizzing around from FURIA who want to make sure some nades from below are a possibility. After all, avoid the gunfights, find the players for free. Miracle heads straight into a gunfight though, Solotov the first to fall.
Good start for FURIA. They've not had too much joy in the opening battles consistently. That is the 3rd out of 5, so it puts them back on top. But can they? The real point is they've not been able to get those rounds won, even when they've been getting those opening kills. It's not been something that they've been able to make pay. So the pressure underneath continues. We have them getting in there. They know that the site is a little bit accessible from underneath. So, like you said, looking to potentially pick up a free kill or 2 underneath with the nades. STK only has 1 more in hand, so only 1 more opportunity, and now FURIA are going to push in behind that E1D scan and look to get themselves established in office. They're basically pushing forward, set the line up again, push forward again, set the line up, and they're just taking territory like that. At this point, they've pushed all the way to office. The next bit of territory is site.
I do want to come back to what I said at the very start of the game about the players on FURIA as well, when we had the kind of core 3 of Miracle, Highs and Fantasy historically, who were really big players, whereas now it's just Miracle and Fantasy. STK was their top-rated player during the Copa Elite 6, but bearing in mind that it's coming to this quite fresh, it's his first big LAN as well. I know Copa Elite 6 was on LAN, but a big international one like this, you might not see them at their full form at this event, and certainly in this game, that's exactly what you're seeing. Handy and STK 1-4 and 0-4 between the pair of them. So for Miracle and Fantasy, it's good that you're dragging your team through a couple of rounds in this, but we've got to see more. Tyrant was ratted out and didn't even realise that someone had dropped down behind him at first. It's a good trade back though, so only minimal damage before Nello steps up to have another trade coming in. And once again, we're just seeing the members of FURIA completely cleaned up, except for Miracle, who sits there as the last man left alive.
18 seconds left to go. Miracle finds Users, and he's looking looking for more. 14 seconds, picks up the diffuser, so has the opportunity to put it down, but he needs to find at least another kill, I think, before he's going to be able to. Does he know the man's here? Oh, he does. He's going hunting, but will not find him. Nello playing that perfectly. I've long said that Nello is one of the best site players that we've had in the game, and he proves exactly why there. Waiting until the perfect moment, dips himself out, knows where the challenge is coming from. He knows those defensive sites inside and out. He has done for the longest time, and another round is won because of it. I dread to think how many rounds have been won by Nello in sight on the defense over the years that he's played this game. It's 4-1 MNM.
Far too many to count, I'm very, very sure, Tim. It is 4-1. I'd be shocked if it's not 5-1 with the way this has been going. Because, again, that theme we've seen throughout the half, Furia just trying to find little holes in the defense, ways they can poke through, but then keep on running into these players playing rat corners like Tyrant is a wonderful example on yellow stairs, or meeting resistance inside a cache from players like Neo. There's just always someone else there to slow them down and force them to get back on drones, to coordinate as a team, and before you know it, that clock is running low. So really well played by MNM to control as much of Theme Park as possible, but Furia still lack that pace.
Bit of noise going on from our other stream as well, so it sounds like we've got some interesting thrills and spills over there on the B stream as well. We'll maybe get you a little update as we go. For the time being, as there's
Except versus Rogue.
That'll be a good game. Yeah, especially with Group A looking like it is. 3 teams on 6 points. The outcome of that is extremely important. MNM moving into round 6. It's their final defense here, and they're going to be looking to lock this down with a 5-1 half, and that is going to be against the grain, I think it's fair to say, Des. Given the performances that we've had out of Furia so far, this will be pretty much wildly unexpected. I don't know what's on the other side of that barricade. We see the silhouettes sometimes, but it's difficult to judge with the distance whether they're behind that solid object or not. In that case, I think Users was just insane.
I was more worried about Miracle there, just kind of blasting things through, and I thought Tyrant would just step up and just spray and he'd get a freebie. Obviously, remembering that if you're on Repel, you don't get a down state, you are just immediately killed off. So it's like shooting ducks there in a sense for Tyrant. However, Miracle gets away. I think Tyrant a little bit worried about more bullets following through after the initial burst, so opts to dip himself away. But again, MNM are meeting them at the entry point into the building. Fantasy here's got a good chance to make an impact with this. I've got a name. I was thinking Azami, but it's not. Or Aruni.
A lot of people
Amaru, that's
Amaru.
it.
I was going to say
Amaru, Azami, Aruni.
Even we said it in sync. Rare, he's going to open things up. How do they build that synergy? Rare's going to open things up with a kill on to Users. And here goes Fantasy. Gets himself one. Can he find any more? They're going to run out before he gets there at this rate, with Rare getting in there with another. And that leaves us now in a 1 versus 4 as Rare gets his 3rd of the round, I think that is. And it's all up to Nello. I said he was a good site player. He's going to have to prove that he's a hell of a good site player now. He's going to have it stacked against him. Time is on the side of Furia. No surprise to see them. Just pause for a second, get on the drones, see exactly where Nello is inside a site. Armory Throne is not going to be an easy site to hold on to.
It's not, and he's got to chew through 4 of them, as you say. Admittedly, Rare's on fire this round. 3 Ks picked up by himself on the Maverick, and Fantasy still stands. STK looking for his first still on this Iana. A couple of body shots, and he probably finds himself with a kill here, but needs to get himself in a spot where he's got the team around him. Let's not see Furia make the same mistake that MNM made in the retake. There we go.
Nice and easy for Fantasy. Steps out, gets the kill onto Nello, and gets the job done. That's going to bring us to a 4-2 half. I don't think that Furia may mind that too much.
I don't think so.
Now that they're moving on to the defense, I think they'll be reasonably happy with that. As we've said, the attack of Theme Park is not an easy thing. 5-1 would... That would have been a difficulty, potentially, but I think Furia are more than happy with that. They're going to take us to initiation to begin with, and there's one thing jumping off the screen to me straight away, Des, and that is the clash of STK.
If you feel maybe you want to get more control than you would otherwise have with just one operator, clash is never going to be a bad one. And not at all to pile on STK, but when you're getting no kills as well, there are other ways that you can be valuable to your team other than firing a gun, and Clash is most definitely going to be one of those operators. Keen to see where he plays. I'd imagine that there is some expectation from Fury that the push will come in from Cache side. It's the most common entry point for this site and for the building in general. Normally Arcade and Cafe, for example, you get 1, maybe 2 players there, but it's not where the main force of the enemy team is going to come pushing in from. So he should be inside of Cache. They've got the support inside along with shields and ADSs and all the rest of it. They've got a lot of utility scattered around there to make this work. Thank you very much, Medics, for pointing it out.
as you say, all stacking up towards preventing access to that cache side of things. It's really about just preventing MNM even getting inside of the building here. I've commented before, when you're defending initiation and office, if the attackers are going to come from cache and control side, they don't actually have very much room to play in. It's literally one room, site, that's it. You know, so they've got to be careful with that, because you can collapse on top of them quite quickly. Fantasy's just waiting for this. He knows that the man is coming. He wants to take the challenge. If he takes the drone, that was, again, maybe if MNM are a little bit more aggressive on that, as Fantasy challenges the drone, they look at making the challenge onto him, but they just weren't quite hot enough for that.
Shoot and move, Tim. Shoot and move. Fantasy relocating off towards that lovely angle you can see from the stairs. Here's the man on rappel, literally flying through the air, and Fantasy can't find him. But Yuzus down to 5 HP. Chalk that up as another time a MNM player has been left on sub 5 HP. It's ludicrous how often it's happened.
We saw Solotov managing to do some real work, even though that was the case earlier, so Yuzus will be hopeful that he can emulate that. Tyrant has got in underneath. He's still chasing Fantasy at this point. I think they know that somebody was down there, but as you say,
can't get shocked, he'll die.
Exactly that. He's sort of just slid away, and they haven't been able to pin him down, and it's wasting time for Tyrant here, but he's maybe going to move his way up these dragon stairs. This could be a huge flank coming in from Tyrant. He's got to take his opportunity, but no, he gets spotted out by the clash. Solotov loses his life along the way. We're in a 5 versus 4, and FURIA are looking good on the defense.
Super aggressive hold, and again, this is why this map can be seen as so obnoxious. Really what I think it needs is a double doorway up here around Dragon to make the entry into the building a little bit easier, so things aren't so bottleneck. But we can talk map changes all day long. Essentially here, this is being really well played by FURIA. MNM tried to disable the shield to give Solotov the ability to get up, or sorry, Yuzus the ability to get up on the balcony, but that just didn't work. He was slightly out of range. I spoke about STK not having the best start to the game. Here, if you can just waste time though on the clash, that's absolutely perfect. We're 2 minutes in, and MNM are not inside the building.
That's the big problem. It was better from MNM to get that kill from the outside and start to work towards getting inside, but they need to push forward on it. And how about that? Tyrant's just walked into sight. Knock, knock. There he is. And that's going to be 2 kills. Handy manages to get back onto Nello, leaving us now in a 3 versus 2. But FURIA are up against it here. Backs against the wall, and an early attacking success for MNM could be massive in terms of the outcome here. They've got Diffuser in the hands of Neo and need to think about a potential opportunity to put it down on the ground, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Move in behind the bomb chassis. The cover here is critical. Rare somehow manages to turn on Tyrant, gets himself a headshot, and that is going to force Neo off that plant whilst they reassess the situation. 2 versus 2, he's going to go for it again, but he's got cover from Yuzus this time, who is seriously low health and cannot take too strong a challenge. He manages to get it done, but here comes the flank from Rare. He's managed to get in behind them, Des.
And he's managed to shoot one of the decoys as well, which gives his spot away. It's Neo in the clutch, the 1v2 finding one. It's him versus Handy, who's got to make up for previous mistakes, and he finds the shot. That'll be round 7 going to the side of FURIA off the back of what was initially a Handy mistake, not watching the yellow stairs. Pays it back by getting the disable in the 1v2.
Well, it's not just a FURIA win, it's a FURIA practically out of their seats celebrating. I can hear them from here, and that is not a good thing for MNM, because it's just really going to put the energy back into that team who were beaten up a little bit in the first half. But as you say, FURIA reacting fantastically well to that Tyrant flank. He got his kills, and he really did drive a stake into the heart of the team to really look like they might just be finished and out of that round, but somehow they just clung on, they got the kills, they fought their way back in, and it was good stuff from FURIA.
It was a bit of timing issue for Candy, really. I don't blame him for it. He was also trying to watch Arcade and towards Cafe, so when this player that you know is on the other team comes crouched walking up yellow stairs, if you're not watching it at that exact time, you've got no way of stopping what just happened. And I'll give full credit to Tyrant as well. He was poking around, trying to find angles at Dragon Stairs. He backed away, rotated off towards yellow, pulled out the same thing again. So really punishing FURIA for not shutting him down once they knew he was inside the building, and does open the round up. Just as I said, Handy comes up with a massive 1v2, exactly what they needed to ensure their defensive side can really start with a bang.
Really well played there from FURIA. They move on then. I'm going to be heading into round 8. It's going to be Armory and Throne that they look to hold down. They've got a little bit of a top 4 presence, much as MNM did against them. Obviously, the direct contrast here is, can MNM clear out that top floor quicker than FURIA did? That's where MNM's real success came in on the defence, was holding FURIA at bay for 2.5 minutes. Now, that's not going to help him, Des, as Rare manages to step up. He's having a real game so far. Headshot onto Neo, takes him down and gives FURIA the early advantage.
MNM puts so much focus on getting gong control as well. They really want to be below, and it feels like FURIA know this because they've kept on positioning players around here so many times over now, just for the early challenge to ensure MNM are being slowed down. Here at least they've got the kill that then backed away. The Thatcher being gone isn't the end of the world. Like, sure, you still got Twitches on side, for example. The mute jammer's really the only thing you've got to worry about. So I wouldn't be like losing any sleep over it. It's going to suck a little bit still. You've lost a gun after all, but the Twitch droners you just saw can still tear through, get rid of ADSs, mute jammers, you name it.
Users just not having a charge available there for that last shot, I don't think, onto the ADS, so loses the drone, but still does some great work beforehand. MNM needing to get in there. They're going to have another mute jammer to play around. That's over on the yellow wall side, just looking to prevent any access from the bottom of yellow stairs, but it's going to be maintenance that is the focus here. And we've seen a lack of teams really opening these breaches up and looking to get a plant in Armory and Throne over the last couple of play days. As I've said, we tend to see them get maintenance wall and then just end up flooding in through it and just being cut down one at a time. And it's partly because there's no vertical angles to be held to prevent what those defenders are doing. Now then, there's an opportunity for Nello, but he just can't find the man behind the throne.
Probably a moment of panic there, just like, the hell, there's someone there? Sure enough there was, but nothing to be found. Shotgun on the door, getting ready, smoking still in through the breach here. Flash is being caught out, which means frag grenade should surely come following. Shotgun comes out, 2 quick kills, both to Miracle as well. One through the breach onto Nello, the second onto the Dragon door with a shotgun. Things looking good for FURIA once again.
Miracle just playing in and around that throne, proving he's the king of the castle. Rare's going to take down Solotov. Miracle down but not out, and will be surviving the round because STK gets the final kill before MNM can do anything else, and that is going to be a flawless round for FURIA to level things up 4-4. And I suggested, Des, they might just be happy enough with the 4-2 scoreline, getting themselves onto defence, and they look to be cruising right now. MNM out of ideas in those first 2 attacking rounds.
I was going to say, if not a timeout now, then it has to come in the next round for MNM. That quarter will have elapsed, will have seen 3 sites. They've got to get things course corrected a little bit here. But this is the fear I had back in the first half. Even though MNM looked to be really convincing at that 4-1 scoreline, this is Theme Park. Defenders still tend to have the run of the roost here, and that's exactly what you're seeing. FURIA playing without fear for the most part, being even more aggressive than MNM were. I was really commending MNM and saying, hey, these guys are holding up towards top Dragon super well. Cash is their turf, and FURIA are struggling to make any kind of movement. They're being held up everywhere. And FURIA have kind of said, well, we can do even better than that. We can keep you outside the building for 2 minutes. We can make it so you've only got 1 point of ingress, and when you're pushing in through there, you're coming up against smoke canisters, you've got Vulcan canisters, ADS is strapped up, a shotgun next to it as well. Like, good luck, essentially, is what they're saying to MNM. Have fun, because it is not going to be a fun experience for them in any of these next few rounds.
Absolutely not. We've got, again, look at this aggression coming out of FURIA. It just feels like they've tasted blood in the water, Des. You know, they know that this game is there for the taking, and they're going to start just bringing that aggression level up now, putting the foot down on the accelerator and looking to take themselves 1 big step towards qualifying for Friday's playoffs, and they will just be looking then towards that Elevate game. We're going to have the window shots out. I think Rare just aware that somebody was playing on the opposite side there. The defensive side here is Bunk and Daycare. MNM, I'm sure, are going to be focusing towards Cash, control, initiation, getting in there, getting control of those areas, but there is an opportunity if they work underneath to potentially use some vertical nades as well, but obviously they need to be careful because I think there's 1 or 2 FURIA players just down there.
Not quite into the world here as well. Sure, one Selma goes off and does give a lovely line of sight straight through, but not fully open enough that they can't have a player sat behind it. So the Blitz can keep on tricking here. Just the rest of FURIA need to be aware about the angle that is now exposed. A big focus coming in through the break room here with the Thatcher EMPs now doubling up, but Fantasy finds Tyrant. That's the nut going down, and 2 players injured. Nello and Neo hit the deck. It's a 1v4 at this point as well. Solotov finds Fantasy, but he's got to find 4 more all by himself as SDK goes, well, I think I've been quiet for long enough. Time for me to get some kills.
Absolutely, we know that Solotov is capable of doing it. Miracle could be on for an ace here, though, as Solotov gets STK, finds himself in a very winnable 1v2 now. Miracle and Handy are the ones that are left. They're just going to be dropping back and trying to hold their angles. They don't want to over-push this, but equally, they've got to be careful about not leaving themselves in a situation whereby they can be in a 1v1. Solotov sees one, he knows he's on the rotate, so he's going to look to take the challenge on the second if he can see him through in break room, but I don't think he's going to get the angle onto him. We can see that the Bandit is just going to keep himself out of dodge there. Miracle, he knows there's an ace on the cards as well. He's going to take every opportunity he can to get it now then. Picked up on the camera, surely. Solotov moves out onto the mezzanine. He needs to get himself all the way into break, but it's not going to be an easy one to crack.
Got to try and push his way in towards break really here, I feel, if he wants to try and find these kills. Take the long angle first, then look for the short. And I think that's what he's going for, but the feet holes, I just saw him then and thought he can't push through there now. He's got to step his way through, but with no idea what's really going on. This is a good idea, but might get himself challenged here if he's not too careful. There it is as well. It's Miracle on the swing, with the other player Handy ready to step out there. But look, it opens up behind him, and he has no idea the wall has opened up. Doesn't have to worry, though, as Solotov did rotate away. Well played by FURIA, nice and passive. Didn't go looking for the kill, just let the him come to them because they had the diffuser.
Second ace for FURIA in this game. Fantasy round 1, Miracle round 9. They are having one heck of a performance right now. MNM were able to get some ground on the defence, but they just haven't been able to continue with it. You discussed that tactical timeout coming in, Des. That's exactly what we're going to have from MNM now. The players just looking, a little bit downcast at this point. Not much of a surprise, given the situation. It's been a tough couple of days for them, and it just seems to keep getting tougher.
I mean, 2 more rounds and MNM are done. They're going home on
Simple
Thursday.
as that. If they lose in regulation, that's it, they're out.
And I think that would make them the first team to go home as well.
I don't think we've had anybody else, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've had anybody confirmed eliminated just yet.
Well, it's not coming home, but at least they'll be coming home.
There's a few teams that are pretty close to it, but I don't think anybody's actually confirmed. Because of Group A being 6 points apiece, Dan1 Kia aren't quite confirmed yet, but it's more than likely at this point. But yeah, MNM, they could be in the unenviable spot of going home first.
Attackers have
and
located a bomb.
not at all to par on the boys, but even coming in, we were talking about the teams from EU that were coming in. MNM was the team that we had the, dare I say, lowest expectations of, the ones that we thought might fall short here. It has been an interesting stage for them. We've had a lot of ups and downs, where, as I mentioned before, Tyrant hasn't quite been at his best. We've seen Solotov have a wonderful stage. Uzius as well, I believe, was one of our top-rated players coming out of EU. But I keep on saying it, you need that front three to all be online. If they can't build that consistency, they will struggle to deliver at big events like this.
10 seconds to
100%.
go.
100%. Now then, we're going to move into round 10. FURIA looking very solid on the defence so far. 3 rounds in a row. Tactical timeout for MNM. We have seen in the past them have a big impact, but it's going to need to be a huge impact here. It's not going to be enough just for a round or 2 to be turned over. They need to be getting themselves all the way to 7 from here on in if they don't want to drop any points. They're going to be attacking onto lab and storage this time. So again, cafe, bunk, daycare is going to be an important area to try and keep track of, try and take control of. It's something that I think FURIA have done fantastically well so far, is spread themselves out in the map and get kills everywhere. Everywhere they are challenged within the map, they are coming away with some sort of bonus, some sort of benefit from those fights.
I'm really keen to see how MNM approach this side, because on FURIA's attacking sides, they just had to kind of jump in the window at the last 10 seconds, if you recall, into double frost mats. Didn't even get a chance to touch the floor before the player that was stood there with a shotgun found a kill. It was just one of those ones where they ran the clock all the way down, and FURIA were completely without any idea of what to do. Solotov finding STK is a good start. They got rid of the shield that was also inside of sight. So they are slowly unpeeling the layers of this defense from FURIA here, just weakening it in certain areas, but they've still got to deal with roamers like Handy that are playing on the upstairs.
Yeah, getting themselves into cafe is going to be a big start. Solotov's going to do exactly that. He'll push on in now, and that starts to put pressure on these other roamers. It may well force their decision to move back to site, which is exactly what MNM are looking for. They want to get in and start working that vertical destruction with the sledge of Solotov quicker than FURIA were able to on their attack. That may give them the opportunity then to find another kill or two, or to at least push the defenders into unfavourable situations. Exactly like that. Handy having to try and go over the handrail, gets shut down as Tyrant finds him 5 versus versus 3. MNM using the map control that they've got so far and putting it to good use. Now they can start thinking about those verticals, but they need to be careful of the flank, Des, because FURIA, they're trying something bold.
They know that it's coming as well. There's 2 of them pushing up here together, just constantly trying to disrupt MNM. And I get it. Rare getting swung on. Solotov into another, gets both at the same time, finds a 3K as he goes on to 12 and 6. Miracle. I don't think you get a second one in a row, buddy. It's a flawless round for MNM. I said I was curious to see how they'd attack the site, Tim. Turns out swamping everyone into that top floor through Cafe was the answer.
Yeah, they dealt with it very, very well. They won the fights. I've joked before about the MNM tactical timeout. We've seen them use it against BDS and give them the reverse sweep. We've seen them use it against Rogue and give them the reverse sweep. And right now, they've just brought it out against a FURIA side that they were struggling to take a round of on the attack. And they've got themselves around. It could be a platform for them. It could be a springboard into the rest of this game. FURIA then are going to move back downstairs into Armory and Throne. This is probably one of the most difficult sites that we've seen for the attackers yet. We saw FURIA win this one by just rushing in with an Ossa and being able to plant behind the shield, largely invited by the number of players that MNM had invested in the top floor. FURIA, I don't think, are going to do that. They're not going to over-invest upstairs. They will have players in and around site, and when that happens, the traditional attacks onto this site at the minute, they're not really working, Des. It's opening maintenance wall, it's trying to fight with Throne, it's trying to push your way in there, and it's just not really happening. I'd like to see a team maybe dedicate to getting a couple of walls open here, maybe the yellow stairs and maintenance, maybe maintenance and barrels. Just go crazy, put another roadblock there for the defenders, give them something else to worry about other than that singular breach.
SDK back on that clash again. I think Medix was trying to point it out earlier on. I completely get what he was trying to say. It's, oh, look, they've got this again. It's all about that time waste here, and I'm sort of surprised to not see more presence from FURIA up towards Dragon like before. Maybe it's the expectation that MNM will try and push it through an alternative angle. I'm not quite sure, but we're waiting for that C4. We've seen this so many times. Just waiting for the hint that someone comes up. And maybe there'll be a call from Rare rather than from Fantasy here that someone is going to step onto this hatch. Here he comes. It's a bit of a bait and switch, though. Comes back in for another one. Almost gets caught out. Loses half of HP. I think the right sort of time being called out by Fantasy there, because Solotov was playing to the edge, to the millimetre to hit that hatch, because he knew what was coming. No one manages
to get Rare. MNM could do this here, Des. They're starting to carry themselves with momentum, with a bit more confidence. That's a good opener for them, taking down the Vigil. Of course, Vigil, one of the biggest time wasters in the game, means you have to face check everything, can't rely on your drones, can be a massive problem. But as FURIA have done previously, they are still very mobile, very active in the map, very spread out. There's a lot of work for MNM to do. A lot of seconds will be consumed chasing these roamers down.
Oh boy, I didn't even see this rat.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I mean, normally this is the kind of spot that a Vigil might play rather than, you know, a mute with an SMG. But Fantasy can make it work with any gun, apparently. Tyrant's thinking about trying to find his way inside of storage. There is a player holding off towards the right-hand side inside a lab. So still very much a spread setup coming out from FURIA. MNM just waiting for what they feel is the right time to make the play and try and crunch down on these roamers.
Honestly, I don't think there's any way that they end up finding Fantasy with the drone in, I'll be honest, just given how far away from site he is, stuck off in a little corner there. You know, I just don't see that they're going to drone to that degree underneath the desk, and Fantasy could be a big factor. So let's just keep him in the back of our minds as this round progresses. We've had a bit of a stalemate in the middle here, but Tyrant, he's going to go forward. He knows that there's one playing inside of Lab, and he needs to go and get the kill onto Handy so that the rest of the team can start progressing here. But he needs that information. He needs to know where the challenge is going to come from as he goes in there. Otherwise, the Jaeger is likely to have a field day. And Handy, for the time being, he's just going to hold himself in position. But MNM are just burning too much time here, Des. They haven't even really touched site.
They're looking in through yellow by the looks of things here, and Handy waiting for the man to come through. Is he looking the right way? No, he's not. Almost misses the shot, but finds the man. There is a second there waiting as well and knows the challenge is coming through. But this is the last thing you need in the closing 20 seconds. A good nade coming through, but still being held up in this 1 versus 1 as Fantasy finds Yuzus.
Just not enough time for MNM here. As I've said previously, FURIA doing a fantastic job out in and around the map, able to just burn those seconds away, one after another. Final kill for Handy is going to put them in the lead once again. FURIA 6-5 now, and they have the map point opportunity. You can see them bouncing in their seats. They know what this means. It could mean that they secure their place in the knockout stages of the Berlin Major as early as today, depending on the result of the next match between Elevate and Astralis. But that was, again, it was a nice defense from FURIA. You had Fantasy, you had Handy. Neither of them were overly aggressive. Neither of them were itching to get into gunfights. They were just waiting for the moment. And what better a moment for Handy there. 25 seconds left to go. You get a kill on the flank, and all of a sudden, the attack has to worry about that because they can't ignore it, because if they do, you're going to go and kill them all. Absolutely nothing MNM could do there, and it was just too little too late.
Just playing very passive. It's like boxing shadows for MNM. And you also had STK being the juggernaut of the holes on that clash as well. Just moving back and forth, clearing out drones as he saw them, feeding information as and when required so the other members were informed and could act off the back of that information. Just overall smart play. And both teams, I think, have played the defensive side of this game really well, which is probably why we're focusing so heavily on the attacks, because that is where the difference needs to be made. MNM need to get this round on the board now to take us through to overtime at the very least. But even that will massively dent their chances at making it out of this group.
Bunkendike may well be the last sight that we see then as FURIA look to close this one out. As you say, the problem for MNM now is, I think, percentage-wise, even with an overtime win, their best chance is, I think, 0.01%. The message is largely sent at this point. It was only 18% whether to get the full 3-point win. They had to rely on a lot of other results. So the race is looking largely run for him, and the question is, does that take a little bit of a mental toll? Does it just take the wind out of the sails here on Theme Park? Will we see MNM limp out of the tournament with a loss to FURIA here? They're looking to get themselves into the east side. Once again, it's going to be through Cash and CCTV. Not CCTV, Cash and Control. They are pushing towards Bunk and Daycare, so again, it's get yourself across the top, but FURIA, again, nice and spread out. 4 different fights to take there. 5 as one moves up the arcade stairs. They're happy to lock this one down. Last time we saw them play 2 underneath. This time, they're happy to just get themselves sat on site, hold their angles. There's no need for them to overly peak or get overly aggressive.
Yeah, it's interesting they're playing so heavily on site, where prior rounds they've known about map control, but they've conceded the entirety of the east side of the map to MNM, which means MNM have 2 minutes, we'll call it. They've had 2 minutes to focus on trying to get this opened up. 2 EMPs coming through to stack those up. This wall will definitely be open, and no miracle, you cannot recover that Electro Claw.
Instead, he's going to dip himself in behind the couch, looking for the long angle through into initiation. This is largely just going to come down to gunfights now, Des. As you say, there's nobody in a position for FURIA to be able to move onto the flank. They can't get themselves up the Dragon Stairs. They can't get themselves up the Yellow Stairs. Tyrant's underneath to prevent that happening anyway. But it is going to be all about those gunfights. And Solotov, he comes in with a critical one, manages to find a headshot onto Miracle. 5 versus 4. MNM are rolling.
This is it as well. Their chance to still keep their dreams alive here in Berlin, all rest in this round. And that's just about getting us to overtime. Everything else after that we can talk about later. Tyrant, been a real backstab on this Nook a couple of times in the half, working his way through. The Wee-Woo gives his position away, but no one's around to be able to take a fight because FURIA are down on numbers. They've had to back away here. Tyrant almost being challenged, but Solotov, the man who's been getting the kills for his team, is shut down by Fantasy.
Fantasy just looking to continue fighting from inside the site, but gets shut down in break. Users managing to find that kill, gets himself established, feet on the ground inside of the site, and this is the moment for MNM. 20 seconds left to go. 4 versus 2. They can't allow FURIA to fight their way back into this. Nello's putting the diffuser down, but it's going to come down to a 1v2. It's rare. It's shut down by Tyrant, and that's going to be MNM taking us to overtime.
That, I think, increases their percentage chances slightly. It's not an absolute 0, regardless of what the outcome is here in overtime. And FURIA now taking their time out. They start on the defensive side, Tim. That's exactly where they want to be, but they want to make sure they choose the 2 right sites. Production, when we come back in, I'd love to see those probability chances once again, just to recap here exactly what this means for MNM. I'm pretty sure
I think
an
from
overtime
memory
loss
it was 0.01, I think.
Overtime loss is 0.01. There it is.
There we go.
And even looking at an overtime win, you're still staring at 6%. It's still a third of the chance that they had if they had won in regulation. It still feels like it's a very tall order. And even for the side of FURIA here, losing, they still have at least 80%.
This is it. You know, for FURIA, they can't be confirmed today now. With that overtime win, the little blue circle around the result tells us that it can be confirmed today. There isn't one around overtime win, so they're going to have to wait for further results tomorrow. But even then, at 91%, at 80%, do we honestly see FURIA at this point not making it out of this group? It would be a huge turnaround if that was the case.
Absolutely. Well, timeout is done. It's time to get back into the game. Armory and Throne, where FURIA are going to set up their first defense here in overtime. They want those 2 points. You want to get as close to locking yourself in as possible. So just 2 of these 3 rounds, they take the lion's share. They walk away with 2 and MNM with 1, which all but sends them home. And just in case you're curious, by the way, we had a chat with Sprabuni and Raph, the guys who do all the probability stats, and was like, okay, well, how come 0.01 appears quite a lot? And the way it was described was, it is basically impossible for them to make it out, but there is still a mathematical chance in some weird universe where, like, they win every game 7-0, every other team loses. Literally, if the stars were to all align, which they probably won't, but there is still a mathematical chance, so we have to say 0.01. Either way, a loss will see MNM going home. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, realistically, it's probably actually less than 0.01. You know, with that's the sort of margins that we're looking at there. But we head into our first overtime round. It's going to be round 13. FURIA on the defense. They're going to take us to Armory and Throne. Not too much of a surprise there. Both of these teams have really struggled to attack onto that site outside of the rush in the first round. User's going to take a bit of initial damage there from a peak. FURIA just this time looking to get out in the map a little bit more. We said last time it was maybe a little bit static for them. It's not really what we've seen working for them. So they're deciding to get a little bit mobile again.
I mean, the other game sounds fun as well. I'll have to check what's going on over there in a minute as well, because we haven't really had any updates just yet. We'll check in what's going on there soon. For now, of course, seeing how Fantasy wants to start out this round. A challenge out towards Gong. I never, Tim. That's how every single attack feels like it's gone. Is MNM want Gong, FURIA want to stop them getting Gong. It's simple.
Fantasy just on the Dragon Stairs for the time being, looking to keep himself a tight angle down towards the east-sided lower entrance near Gong. Could be a problem if MNM try to push themselves in, but again, FURIA just so spread out around the map. They've gone back to what has worked for them previously. They're not going to allow MNM to just continue attacking onto them. Users manages to get an opener onto Fantasy though. That could be big. Solitov onto Rare, really starting to push forward. MNM now 5 versus 2 as Tyrant finds Handy, and all of a sudden FURIA massively on the back foot. This could be a first standard attacking win without a rush onto Armory and Throne.
And that becomes alarming. We almost saw the same thing out of the G2 game earlier on as well, where, well, not earlier, it was actually yesterday, but on the attacking side, they managed to walk away with that one attacking win in overtime. That was what really sealed the deal for them in an 8-6 victory. STK has barely had a kill to his name all game. Has found 1 in the round, but has 4 more to pick up.
Nello's getting that diffuser down. Almost certainly going to stick it here as STK having to be careful.
Right.
Try again. There we go.
Third time lucky.
Manages to...
That's why he's not getting kills, mate.
We didn't have to do him like that. He manages to get the edge up eventually. As he pushes forwards, he's likely going to get shot in the back. Here, there we go. Neo has the angle. That's going to be MNM closing it out, continuing to fight here. They managed to get themselves the first attacking round and now move on to the defence. There's every possibility here that MNM managed to get that overtime win, and what looked like FURIA coming in here with the potential of even qualifying today does drop down to an 80% likelihood. Still very likely they go through, but it's not the outcome they will have wanted.
All I'm going to say is G2 qualified for this major.
Stranger things have happened.
G2 qualified for this major on a 4% probability.
Yep. And look at who they're up against. Astralis are going to be the team that are going to be fighting for that position more than likely. Are they a team that could win every remaining game? In my mind, they are. So FURIA,
if they bounce back.
Yeah, they need to bounce. Have they got the ability? Have they got the quality on the team? Yes, I think they have. You know, so FURIA, you don't want to be rolling those dice. You don't want to be testing those odds. You know, you want to get it done, and right now it's looking like they might walk away leaving the door open.
And Astralis are warming into today as well. I was catching up with Fluke earlier. She gave me a wonderful rundown of how things have been going in this group, because her and Hap have covered every single game up to this point. We've now stepped in and gone, cheers for doing the starting bit, we're taking the rest out. But she was essentially saying the one thing with Astralis is obviously yesterday they had a torrid time. Iconic, super negative in terms of his KD. Today's come in and gone positive, but all the strength is really coming from J90 and from Forest. They've been the 2 players that have really dragged them through today a little bit more and shown some strength. So if they keep on warming up, if Iconic can get back into that form that we saw back in Charlotte, like you said, it's not without the realms of reason that they could go on to win 3 games.
Andy's going to be getting down there, putting out the claymores. They don't want any jump outs coming along from MNM. It's that sort of action that could well win or lose around here, but I don't think MNM are going to be going for anything quite so wild. Handy is on the upside down rappel, looking to pressure that top floor again. Something that we've said previously that FURIA have struggled with, Des, is taking top floor control even when going onto Armory. Solotov, he knows that there's one on the long range. Does he know that there's one on the upside down rappel? He's certainly thinking about this, but he's going to dip himself away to safety for the time being. Fantasy has gone down along the way. That's absolutely not what FURIA needs. 16 and 11, Des. The majority of the kills coming from him and Rare, and that is a big takedown as an opener for MNM.
It's the man that you want, right? You get him off the board and you know they lose about half of their fragging capability, and that's exactly what they've seen. Sees the man here on the arcade stairs, looking for him as he runs down. In fact, a challenge coming directly in here, and Tyrant wins it out on the reverse. A wonderful gunfight, and MNM with that kill may have just wrapped this up, Tim.
Very possibly. 5 versus 3 now. Miracle working from the hatch. I don't think he's going to get much joy, though, because MNM, right now, they don't need to overcommit. They don't need to peek. Solotov, he's just keeping himself in position. Sees the man, but he's just going to dip himself away, and this is it. He can just be slippery now. Users manages to find a headshot onto Miracle. 5 versus 2, 1 minute 30 left to go. FURIA have got time on their side. That's about all they've got right now, because MNM are well and truly in control, not just of the round but of the game. Users gets STK, and it looks for all the world like this one might be finished. It's FURIA struggling on Theme Park, very little to go on, and Solotov, he finishes it off in style with a flawless round for MNM as they take their first win at the Berlin Major.
Well, there it is. It's a little too late, but they now have a 6% chance of still making it out. And as I've said, G2 did it on 4% chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There is a chance, Tim. There is still every chance. And for FURIA, much of the same frustrations we spoke about before. A couple of big names, really the old boys going big there, but the new boys really got to start showing up in some of these games. Hopefully they do. Time will tell. We'll go to a short break, and when we come back, we'll break it down some more. Welcome back to the A-Stream here at the Berlin Major. If you're just joining us, then you've missed a bit of a banger on Theme Park. MNM walking away with their first victory, 8-6 over FURIA, in what, at least to begin with, Tim, felt like FURIA were bouncing back to a win in the second half.
It really did. 4-2 in the first half of things. MNM got themselves on top, but defensive Theme Park, we know, is a powerful side. And FURIA were able to bring it back, but MNM showed a bit more teeth on attack than they maybe have previously so far here in Berlin and got themselves into that overtime, able to grab the win. Good performance from them.
What I think as well is looking down the leaderboards, you can see in terms of kills, like which players really got themselves involved. We keep on saying for FURIA, some of the weaknesses is in those newer players that haven't yet really got to grips with it and are really starting to show up. So a bit of time needed for them, I think, to really shine, but still find themselves sat in second place. MNM now climb above Astralis, at least temporarily, because we're about to see them next, and Elevate still at the top of the pops on 9 points.
This is it. That next game gets really big now. If Astralis get the win against Elevate, obviously we start speculating here, but they go up onto 5 points coming into tomorrow. And when you're only 2 behind FURIA, that 80% number, that starts to disappear a little bit because, you know, things change when Astralis start getting that win. And with only 2 points difference in between them, you look at a team that's been top of the NAL and you think, poof, there's a real opportunity for them here.
Well, we were looking at like probabilities, but when you see the points laid out like this, you can see how easy it is for FURIA to get caught. They lose their next 2 games, for example, and Astralis win both of theirs, or MNM win both of theirs, some in overtime. Before you know it, FURIA being knocked down the table.
Well, this is it. I don't know the fixtures, the matchups off the top of my head for tomorrow, but if Astralis do play FURIA again, then one of the games that FURIA needs to lose is directly against the opponent that's going to be chasing them. That is absolutely huge in terms of this group, and it really could be a deciding factor.
So our games tomorrow are Elevate MNM and Elevate FURIA. And then Astralis MNM and Astralis
there you
FURIA.
Go, Astralis FURIA.
Astralis FURIA could be the decider for this group.
Elevate FURIA as well. Can you see Elevate not beating FURIA at the minute? I'm not saying they will definitely beat them, but Elevate beat FURIA, Astralis beat FURIA, and Astralis are through if they've beaten Elevate today. That's how close this group is. It is that easy. And, you know, what I've just said there is not completely wild to think might happen.
And maybe it's from seeing Charlotte and from seeing Stage 2, for example. But this next game, it's top versus bottom, Elevate against Astralis. I don't feel coming into it it's going to be that clear-cut.
I really don't.
It's going to be very, very exciting for sure. Now, I'm going to ask production a real direct question because I haven't got a pillow for this one. Are we allowed to throw to a break, production? We are allowed to throw to a break, Tim. I have submission.
I don't have to catch anything this time.
No, last time I threw a pillow at him.
Prano did throw a ball at me earlier when we were running, and I caught that.
So you can catch a ball, just not a pillow?
Yeah.
I mean, you did catch the pillow, but on your
just
head.
on my face.
I mean, that's kind of what a pillow's for, you know, sleeping, like NA were at the start of the day, and now look at
Starting
EU.
to wake up.
EU's the one snoozing today. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, Elevate versus Astralis awaits. See you in a few.